talk about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 778. Saltburn. I don't know.
You made a mistake.
Why'd I add another thing?
I
have
know,
to come
I
up
know.
with every week. Why would I do such a thing?
Well, we already lost the birthday songs. I mean, the show's...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You got to pick up somewhere.
What was it? Birthday songs.
It was new
Oh,
show share
that's
songs.
right.
Show share.
I thought he used to do... I thought there was one where... Or we joked about it, at least, where if it was someone's birthday, we were like, can you sing a birthday song
you may
to
have
him?
joked about it. And Dan's like, no.
Yeah.
Hard pass. He's like, I quit the show.
And he did. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes,
Crap.
that's
Yeah, that's what it was. He says, I'm not making any more songs.
So finally ran him out of here. So I guess let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
This is Matt.
And this is Tom. Hi.
That was an interesting order.
Well,
I didn't expect it.
Because you gave him an introduction, but it was out of order, so he was in the guest spot. But then you made him go in before you. So,
Well, I guess I always go last, and Joe always goes first.
but when
and
we
so,
have a guest, it's last. But you
but
made him
I
jump
thought
in.
last time
we did say that he had joined the Green
Then
Jacket.
he should have went
Club.
first.
Nope.
Round the table.
Joe goes
Nope.
first. It's in his contract.
You know what? I guess I like that when I'm here, there's no real. It's not
okay.
like he's a special thing. It's just like I'm just like one of the guys.
That's right. You are one of the
So
guys.
we don't have to talk about it. We just do it. We just do it however we do
That's
it.
what I mean. It was a weird thing because you should have just went. Because when Paul Harris is here, you make Paul go first, but you
Do
made
I?
Joe go. Yes,
Oh, is that
because he's
right?
in the rotation.
I don't remember that.
Because the rotation goes literal physical rotation, but you made him in the spot that you've never ever introduced someone in the before you spot if they're not
Well,
occurring.
In my defense, I like Paul better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
also,
I don't care, but I'm just like I edit these things. I notice these things. That was a weird rotation.
you thought though that there were birthday songs.
oh, that's
I
true.
can't trust.
I'm an unreliable narrator.
Yes.
and that's true. And it's not by. I just have a really bad memory.
As the guy who was busting my balls not 2 days ago about my memory.
Well, I don't have that bad of a memory.
No, that's
let's
fair.
be clear.
That's legit.
So before we dig in, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, TuneIn. Wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. I need to stop saying Google because that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, once you get,
Google
again,
exists, but not
we've been
podcasts.
yeah, Google's always going to exist.
Yeah.
Yahoo podcasts.
You know what? Sears used to think the same thing.
That's fair.
So did Woolworths.
And J.C. Penney.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
wait till Ask Jeeves comes back.
Could you imagine? Just like the
Aren't we getting to the time period
from
where
the ashes when Ask Jeeves.
but people are nostalgic for
or Bing. Or,
Hot box.
Now hold
Bing is
hold
still
on,
around,
hold on.
actually.
Every month or so, I cash in my Microsoft points that I get from searching on Bing, and I get a $5 Amazon gift
hey,
card.
and you use it.
Absolutely. It might take me 2 or 3 searches, kind of changing the
Is
words.
that real?
Yeah.
Which part?
The gift card for using Bing?
Yeah.
I had no
That's
idea.
how they get you to actually use
Oh,
that
man,
thing. is
that's
to promote
hilarious.
you.
Now I'm tempted.
Yeah. Can you get more than $5?
Oh, you can save them up.
You
yeah.
can get all kinds of different
But there's
stuff.
there's a daily quota where you can do like 20 a day where you're guaranteed the points, and then they're like, look at this specific article, look at this video.
Take a survey.
But then,
Oh.
and after that, it's just like 1 point for every, but there's like bonus
I
ones. yeah.
legit had no idea that was a
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
The bad thing is, and I'll tell you, this is a little inside baseball for video game people. If you redeem an Xbox gift card with those points, it has to go to the account that did the searching. My Xbox account's a different email, so I never want to redeem the points. I'm like, well, I don't play on that account. I think it's stupid they don't give you like a code that you can
like you
insert.
could just
yeah.
yeah.
No, they
Interesting.
apply it to your
Especially
account.
when like there's probably a lot of people even beyond a situation like that like I would do that and be like, I don't play Xbox, but I give it to my kids.
Sure.
It's
yeah.
the dumbest thing that it's applied as a credit automatically. No code, no gift card, so that's why I don't do it.
It's
but-
not a perfect system.
No.
But Google doesn't.
It's
give
more
you
than
nothing.
Google gives you.
Yeah.
That's true.
More than
Google gives you nothing.
Yeah. So anyway, while you're there, maybe leave us a review. That's super helpful and greatly appreciated. Our egos could always use
A little boost.
little ginning up. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/real spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It's called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include librarian Cynthia, Travis Tewitt, Tom Dowdy, Matt Gonzalez, Ralph Tribble, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Chris Magic Man, Chris Valls, Julian Jordan, Gabriel Lugo, Phil Timon, Heather Sachs, Taylor Ward, Brent Smith, The Kryptonian Orphan, Spoiler Piece Theater, David Rojas, Feel and Film, Binge Movies, Geek to Me Radio, Shirley Shepard, In Session Film, Ronnie Castle, Matt Naglia, Mike and Oscar, Ryan Terry, and Colby Mack, or as I have written here, Kobe Mack. So he's like a
No relation.
He's like a tribute to Toby Mack, Christian
Oh my
hip hop
God.
superstar.
I thought he
Toby
liked
Mack.
mac and cheese.
Yeah,
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
with Kobe beef.
Oh, that sounds good.
It
Or
doesn't-
Colby cheese.
Why would you take Kobe beef and put it in mac and cheese?
I
Hold on.
I can only think of who's the guy, the Flavortown guy.
Guy Fieri.
I was like, it's got Kobe beef
What
in
does he
it.
say? What's his things? Not
Welcome to
Bam. That was
Flavortown?
Emerald. No, what did he's had a thing that he said. I'm pretty sure. I never watched it, but he.
Yum.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
Tasty.
I was gonna say. I think we just invented something. Hold on. Kobe beef in a Colby mac and cheese casserole.
Do it. We'll trademark the Real Spoilers Cookbook coming
Real
at you in
Spoilers
2024.
Hey, there's a lot of celebrities that do those cookbooks.
Finally, don't forget we're available on YouTube where you can go and watch all these if you want to look at our faces.
And Matt's on here, so
Matt's
Yeah.
look at that face.
So anyway, there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
This movie's insane.
This is one of the best movies we've reviewed in a while. I'm so happy to
it's
talk about
so
a good movie.
Crazy. This movie's crazy.
It's
Now-
not that crazy.
This is okay.
People that are
People
making this
told
out,
me it was crazy.
right. You have not seen this. This movie is TikTok crazy. This movie is crazy for people that don't watch a lot of films.
That's fair.
If you watch Holy Mountain or
That's crazy.
or Trailer Town,
Yeah,
or
okay.
or Holy Motors or any holy movies really, but
Yeah.
but there's so many weird movies. This movie is so
This movie,
tame.
you
Go
can't.
go watch Antichrist. and
Yeah,
then come
that's
talk.
Lars
totally
von, I was
legit.
gonna, I forgot-
Absolutely
I was
fair.
going to say that one Lars von Trier movie. What was it called?
Any of them?
Nymphomaniac.
There are shocking things in this movie, but the people that are acting like it's so weird
That's
have
fair.
not seen weird
That's true.
movies.
That's true.
That's all I got to say.
Bookmarked web pages of the things that people say are weird in this movie.
Okay, so when I say weird,
Genres of pornography that I enjoy on a daily basis.
To the point of chafing.
Some of
when
them
I say
you invented.
when I say weird, I mean it takes it. It starts as it feels like a
no,
very.
you said it was crazy. I get it, but
Yeah,
it's-
I think there's two things at play. One is what Kevin is saying. Because it's on Amazon Prime, there's a lot of people that aren't art house aficionados
Yeah.
stumbling into this movie because
Like,
the guy
what
from
the hell?
Euphoria is in it,
Yes.
right? Although you watch Euphoria. Like,
an A24 show.
yeah.
Is that really what that is? Oh, I didn't know that.
A24 has their hands in so many little
Yeah.
pies that you don't realize. Television, streaming
I
films.
never noticed that was
theatrical.
A24 at the
That's
beginning.
Exactly. But if you think about it, the neon, the vibes of it all, it's
Yeah.
a very much an A24
Because
looking
Beef
movie.
is also A24.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Netflix Beef is A24. They have a ton of different things.
Interesting.
And they released more movies last year than Paramount released. They released
Just
so
because
much stuff.
they had a
Because every one of their
sliver
movie
in-
cost $35.
And they do a really smart thing is that you don't know about all the movies they produce. The ones that are hits and are really good, you know about. The ones that aren't get quietly released on streaming or these other places where
Sure.
they don't make you feel like, oh, they're hit or miss. Like you're just like A24, incredible. But they're marketing and they're
Interesting.
really, yeah.
Well, anyway, so I think what's at play is, first off, a lot of people that aren't used to edgier or more challenging cinematic fare.
And this
are
isn't a
stumbling into it.
superiority thing.
Yeah,
It's
no.
just an exposure thing.
Right,
if
right,
you haven't
for sure.
seen,
yeah. And then I also think because the quote unquote crazy stuff comes pretty deep into the movie.
Yes.
So people, like, it's not like this is in the first 10 minutes. So you think you're watching this kind of, it's not true crime, but like this this kind of crime thriller sort of a thing, and then all of a sudden it does this other stuff, and you're like, what the holy hell is happening?
There's a turn. I do think like the first half of this movie, it feels kind of like a comedy, like a darker
almost
comedy,
like a coming of age.
yeah, where he's
type of deal.
he's trying to the way that I can't say this guy's last name, Barry
So far, so good.
Keoghan.
Keoghan,
Keoghan. Like Keoghan.
the Joker. If anybody saw the deleted scene from the Batman.
Oh, was he
That's
the Joker?
Joe's
He's the
joke.
yeah.
If you ask Joe, who's
my
your Joker?
So
It's like Keoghan, but being Irish.
and nobody
it has
saw
like
the
a-
Eternals, so nobody cares about that.
Oh,
movie.
I saw the Eternals and I love it. This guy
was
is
he in that?
He's the bad guy. He's like
I blocked it
Isn't he
out.
the one of the bad guys?
No.
Oh,
He's not
Is
a
he
bad
allowed
guy.
to be?
He's
in
the
the
fast
movie
one,
and
right?
not
Richard
be-
Madden from
that's
Game of
right.
Thrones
That's
is the
right.
bad guy. No, he's
Not Superman.
yeah, this guy's good, but he's become one of
He
my
played a
favorite
good guy?
actors. What and what?
In Eternals?
Yeah,
I didn't know he
anything.
played a good guy.
I know
in
he's
it.
part of the team in Eternals.
He's always played creep because he's
Yeah.
the main guy in like Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yes.
Although he was in
Wasn't he in Dunkirk?
Now that's
He's
a
in
weird
Dunkirk,
movie.
yeah.
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 But that's what I mean though. If you see Killing of a Sacred
Yes.
Deer, that's also one, but not as many people saw it, so
Right.
they didn't get the attention. Yeah.
He was
I think top 20 films, easy.
of all time.
all
I
time?
think so. I
Really?
love
It's a
that
great
movie.
I
movie.
like the movie. Like
great
I'm not
movie.
even
Interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know of all
He
time.
was
Top
in-
30. Top 30. I'll say top 30.
He was in Banshees of
I was
Inisherin
gonna
last
say he
year.
was in the donkey one.
Yeah. Wait.
He
What's
was good
number
in that.
one?
He's a good kid.
Yeah,
in
he
that.
was.
I don't
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which one?
I don't know.
That's hard.
I
to,
can give you a range.
I know.
Sure.
But I like that though, because like when I say top 10 or top whatever favorite movies, I don't like to actually rank them. It's just
Right.
they're in the top 10,
I have-
right?
I
And
have
you might
five.
have like 50 movies in your top 30.
Yeah, exactly.
I have 5. Like there are 5.
Nobody's
that
going to
are
do forensic
in the top
accounting.
5 that will always
Yeah.
be the top.
But
5.
they're interchangeable, right?
They are
like
no.
Do you have
there's-
a number one?
There's
So-
a number one.
Man of
Monster
Steel.
Squad.
Back to the Future.
Oh. And then Man of Steel.
Save it for the Patreon.
Yes.
Save it for
Yeah.
the Patreon.
Superman.
If you
the
want to
movie,
know,
Yeah.
is in there.
And then Age of Adeline.
Age of Adeline, just because it did so well on that.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's one of these up and coming actors that his career has just taken off, and pretty much everything he's in, he's good, and he's in a lot of really good films.
Yeah.
And I think he's great. I think he's excellent in this.
But
Yeah, he's really good.
The first half of this does kind of feel like the Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh, for sure.
And it's got like you don't see what happens like in the cards at all.
That's
and
what's great,
then,
because when you finish it, you think back to what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because I thought Talented Mr. Ripley too, but there's nothing to allude to that.
No.
I mean, there's little things that you go back and can pick up on, but there's nothing in your face like this is what this guy's doing.
Right.
And then you think back and you're like, there were all these little clues.
Well, they show them to you.
Well,
Yeah, they definitely they go unusual suspects
Yeah,
on you.
Yeah,
it's
right, right,
unfortunate.
yeah. Or
The only
usual whatever.
Yeah,
that's my only complaint, and it doesn't ruin the movie. But I don't like that they showed you because I'm like, I pretty much inferred this guy is like a Black Widow. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
everything that happens.
I'm of
he's-
two minds. I didn't like it getting spoon fed, but I was also like, but they met randomly. And it's like, okay, they didn't meet randomly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like you kind of need that explanation.
That one was maybe the one that you kind of needed, and then you could infer the others. But
Yeah.
but I also was like, but then at the end of the movie, you could have discussions and go, well, do you think that meeting was planned? Like, I do think that it spurs discussion when you don't say things like that,
Right.
and you then think back and go, I bet you that wasn't circumstantial.
Right.
Like,
I think the end of the movie didn't ruin the movie for me, but it bummed me out. That like there seems to the whole I'm loving it. I'm in there. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. What's going on? What's the deal? And then I feel like at
you
the
gotta say
end,
like, what's the deal?
I'm Seinfelding it up the whole
Yeah.
time, and I feel like at the end it so. And maybe I'm misinterpreting. I feel like it goes so hard into here's what the deal is,
right.
Yeah.
and there's no.
Instead of an exposition dump, you get an explanation dump.
Yeah, and there's no.
Well,
real
when we
way
get
to
there, let's
interpret
talk
it.
about it because I do want to because I have a read on it, and I loved this movie. I think this is one of the best movies of the past year. It's really well done. I think the writer Emerald Fennell. I always want to say Fennel, like it's just like
Fentanyl?
What's that?
Emerald Fentanyl?
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
Emerald Fennell is the writer-director. She wrote and directed Promising Young Woman.
Which I think is,
Which is a
one of my
phenomenal film.
favorites of the year. I liked
And
it. That was so good.
She's such a good writer, and the way she crafted this script and planted these little seeds, because the more you go back and think about this movie, there are things that it would be hard to ever pick up on these little clues, little lines the characters say, little just little things around the film.
Yeah.
And you go back and you're like, oh my gosh, this all clicks into place. And I think, like Nolan does that a lot, right? Where he's planting the things and you go back and you're like, oh, that little stuff was there. And it's a difficult thing to do and make it all come together in a
M. Night Shyamalan.
big way. Yeah. He's
like once or twice.
That's right.
Yeah.
so
All he
anyway,
needed to make a career, apparently.
I'll be interested to hear when we get there, like what your read on it was.
Well,
and
tell me the things as we go, because
I will. Well,
very
okay,
good chance.
Let's start off with the
I
plot.
missed it
So,
all.
so the plot is we've got this character, Barry
Keoghan.
Man, that is
Oliver.
Thank you. Not
Ollie.
Oliver Twist, who they
Oliver
kept
Quick.
Oliver Quick, and I was like, yeah, well, okay. He is a fish out of water, right? You initially think that he is from this lower middle class family. He's very smart. He gets into Oxford and
On
a scholarship, and they make comments about that, about how he's not like the rest of. It's the kid from Gran Torino, not Turismo. What was the video game? Well, the racing movie where they play the racing game.
that
and
is that.
this is the main that Finley or
Yeah.
Finney is that kid.
Yeah, he's the Farley.
Farley. Oh, you'd think I'd remember that
I think
one.
Chris Farley, yeah.
But also,
Archie Madweck.
but he's British, right?
So he's half British.
No,
half...
I mean in real life.
Oh,
I'm almost positive. But then they make this kid do an American accent while they're in England. It's like, well, okay.
But he
I
was
guess
raised in America. That's the whole.
I
the
know
character.
that. Yeah. But it also, we talked about how with Carrie Coon, where she's got an Irish accent.
Yeah, but this is plot specific. That's the opposite. If it's plot specific, you make them do it. I'm talking about when they drop in there for no reason.
Joe keeps saying there's not enough American representation.
I do.
is that what-
If
okay.
one more
Hollywood.
superhero gets American superhero
Yeah.
cast as a British actor, I swear to God.
But I mean, I get what you're saying. But yeah, it's because he is an outsider, but not as much of an outsider
Correct.
as Oliver.
Correct.
So his mom is like the dad's sister, or I don't know if it's the other
is
way,
it not-
or it's his brother.
Is
right?
it not Carrie Mulligan?
No.
Oh.
No, that's a completely different
I thought
thing.
that was his mom.
No.
No.
And that
Okay.
has a lot to say about this family, like adopting people and bringing them in, but not really caring about them. And it's a class thing. I mean,
I
this
got you.
movie's Eat the Rich. It's
Yes,
about,
definitely.
These are
In
these
more
are
ways than
people
one.
from old money, and
Yeah.
they've got They live in a castle in this huge, beautiful place, which they filmed on set on
That
scene.
place is crazy. I've never seen a place like
Isn't
that.
that crazy?
Like,
and
yeah.
it's filmed
And
all,
you never will.
I know.
but that's the thing. So they're from old money, and the question is like, what do these people really do, or what have they done to actually deserve this? Like, yes, someone hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and maybe they didn't even deserve
Stole
it.
this from
Right, exactly. Like how they get their money in probably bad ways, but it's like these people are rich and they're born into
They
it.
made their money fair and square by colonizing.
Yeah. So it's like, so the question is, why do these people deserve to live in this castle and all this money and never worry about working, when someone like Oliver is, your common person that is
Right.
struggling, and you've got these kids that are just freeloading.
Yeah, and that's what they are.
And
right?
and Farley's like on the outskirts, but still he is a half blood relation to this family. And
Sure.
so even though he's kind of lived in America and the mom married an American, but still he's got that half role.
Well, he immediately couldn't wait to get back to England to
sure.
live this life.
Right.
Yeah. So Oliver is trying to initially. This is kind of like Gone Girl as well, where you think these characters, right? You think the Ben Affleck character, or it's Rosamund Pike. Actually, now that I think about it, where you think and then there's the twist, right? And this movie is very similar.
Oliver twist.
Where you think these characters. You think it's Felix, who is Jacoby.
Handsome McHandsome Vance.
Yeah, right.
Jacob Elordi.
Jacob or Jacoby?
Jacob.
Okay.
His name's not Jacoby.
I'm looking at it, and my eyesight's awful, so I'm like, is that an eye? Jacob
No.
Readers? Yeah, right.
Jacoby Elordi.
Can we talk? We'll just talk on Elvis Presley again.
Yeah.
because that seemed to work so well for us last time.
So what did he play Elvis in?
He was Priscilla.
I didn't see it. I wasn't here.
Oh, he was Elvis.
So
and
he was
Priscilla.
Elvis in that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that garnered us all kinds of praise.
But then that's documented pedophile Elvis Presley.
That is exactly what that is. Yes, documented pedophile
And now,
Elvis Presley.
In the Apple TV original, Masters of the Air, which there's a review by Steve Kelly on ReviewSTL.com, he is in that with Austin Butler, another Elvis.
Oh, that's weird.
Or Barry Keoghan is in
Oh,
Masters.
oh.
So he's been with 2 Elvises now.
Yeah, one is portrayed as not a pedophile, even though he is. The other one is absolutely a pedophile.
a phoebophile, right? We should be.
What's that?
Yeah, that's right. There's a definition.
Because it's if they're underage, but they've reached puberty.
Puberty,
Oh,
it's a different
they're
term.
full. Like it's not the same as being attracted to a 3-year-old.
So you're saying that Elvis is still a piece of shit? Well,
Yeah. And that for
Sexually
some
speaking.
people, it's really important to make that distinction.
God.
Jeez.
Good for them.
The people in your comments, apparently.
That's also true. That's a fair point. So Oliver has no friends, and he ends up making somewhat friends with this super weird guy,
The math
guy, where he's just like read.
It's maths. They're in England.
That's how they say it.
Oh,
in
okay.
England, yeah.
That's
Whatever.
They say maths.
And I guess, right, though, maybe that's
Ask me a sum.
Yeah, oh my God.
that's on us for thinking he's super weird. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah, in retrospect,
Right.
one of them is weirder than the other.
yes.
But they're
Weird sees weird.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
But so they're at Oxford, and there's a scene with the teacher. There's a professor that talks to Farley and Oliver.
We was talking to Oliver first, and because Farley's always late.
Okay.
And but like
The
you get
point of it-
you get an idea of kind of how weird a little bit Oliver is and how awkward he is, because when Farley comes in, the teacher is just like, oh, I again, even the teacher has a weird moment where he's like, oh, are you so and so's mom? And he was like, yeah. He's like, but don't tell her that I said that. Like the professor's like, I went to high school with her, or college with her. He's like, oh, I'll tell her that you said hi. She's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, why?
Because it was
What
kind of
did you
more of
do?
a fascination or whatever than a friendship.
Right.
Like, it was,
I was very
I took
weird.
it as like his mother was
Was Felix.
was attractive, and like every guy was leering over
Yeah.
her, and and
like,
he
"Don't
was just
tell her
like,
that I don't-"
No, lots of people were aware of her, but they knew her. She did not know them.
Yeah.
But the point I wanted to make is that in this scene, he says, have you read some of the summer reading list? And Oliver says, yes, I've read them all. Mm-hmm. And the guy goes, you're supposed to pick
That's
a few.
50 books.
The Bible was on that list. So he's lying. Like, that's our first clue.
Well,
but,
so I initially when I
but you think he's an overachiever.
Yes.
That is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And that's why this script's so smart, because everything that presents itself like that is in 2 different ways. Like,
Right.
you take it's not just a fake or a cheat, or you know what I mean? Like,
Are we sure he's lying? Did they ever tell us he's lying?
No, but now that you know he's a habitual liar.
But I still took it as like, the dude's crazy smart. Like, you can't take that
That's
away from
true.
him.
And is this part of perhaps his turn that he's had to try so hard to do all these things, but then Farley comes in and hasn't done anything, and he's already the teacher's best friend.
Or is this the turn where he I think you could read another way, where Farley plowing in there late and not having done the reading also kind of sets Oliver off on this. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take all of them
That's
out.
what I said.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. But I mean, like, it's this is the moment that puts Farley and Felix in the crosshairs of this character.
It
I don't think there is a moment. I think he was always planning to do something crazy to advance himself.
to these people, or
Yeah.
No, to just peek
Yeah,
general.
right. So
he was there
okay,
to do
okay.
that.
And
yeah.
these people crossed his path, but I think this was always he was always going to do this to someone.
But I think Joe
someone.
is saying that was the moment he picked them to do it.
Gotcha.
too.
Yeah,
and it's a good read. So I don't know, but I think when you go back through the movie and you see that he lies throughout the entire movie, I don't think there's any way that he could have read them all. And that was the teacher's line saying, well, the Bible's one of those. You got to read that whole
Would you
thing.
spend your entire summer reading the Bible?
And so I think it's a great way to go
Yes.
back and be like, oh, well, he was lying, and then he caught him because he maybe didn't even realize the amount that you'd have to read to lie about that.
Right.
And then he's like, but what? You know, so I don't know. I like that, though. I like that there's things like that sprinkled throughout.
Sure.
So you're like, oh, Oliver's a liar, and he's been doing this the whole time.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Again, much like Gone Girl, when you get the reveal, you're like, and you go back and you look at that movie, you're just like, oh, Oh, damn it! Like, how did I not? If the book was the
That's
same
such a
way.
good book too.
They're
yeah.
both fantastic.
I think that's one of the better adaptations of a book to movie.
Oh,
They really
yeah.
nailed that.
There was
Yeah.
no reveal for me. I've told this story before.
Oh, you have? Yeah.
Like
It was-
I read the book before the movie came out, and it was like, my wife was like, "This book's really good. You should read it." I'm like, "Okay," and I'm literally like 15 pages in, right? And I set the book down, and I said, "Is this a smart book?" And she's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh," and fast forward like 2 minutes.
If you haven't watched or
seen-
listened to Gone Girl,
yeah. I was like, is this a smart book or is it just a fun book? And she's like, it's both, but it's really smart. And I'm like, this bitch is crazy. and she's like, what? And I was like, I was married to a version of this. Like, this bitch is crazy. And it's like I read the whole book knowing exactly what she was.
I'll tell you though, when I was reading that book and you get to the scene where he opens the shed, and you're like, holy. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's off the rails.
This isn't that exactly, but you ever someone's telling you about a movie and then they go, "No spoilers, but the twist is crazy." And you're like, that is a spoiler.
You didn't want to know. Like, I'm the same way. It's like, I don't want to know if there's a twist because that's the
Now
fun
you're
of
going
it.
to spend
Now
time
you're
looking
looking
for
Yeah,
it.
you want
Yeah.
to be watching and go, what?
Because I feel like I try to, like, I'll watch a bad movie with a bad twist, and you'll see comments that are like, I could see the twist coming from a mile away. And I'm like, well, I guess you could have, but if you just try and, like,
Watch the
Take
watch
the movie
it,
in, yeah.
you'll
Well,
still
it's
get
like
something out of it.
It's like when Sixth Sense came out, right? And like, it's in its fourth week, and people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, I could see with the twist," and I'm like,
Right.
because you went in,
Yeah, right.
knowing you were seeing a movie
Mm-hmm.
with a twist. Like, I saw it opening weekend. I didn't know. I think I saw it at a screening. I didn't know that there was a twist, and so I didn't watch it trying to pick
Sure.
it apart.
Sure.
I just let the movie do what it was doing. You know?
I thought that was the one where you said it wasn't a twist. Aren't there people that debate that that's
absolutely a twist.
I know, but isn't there? I'm talking about like semantics. Isn't there something? I thought I was
don't
remembering
know.
where it was like that's not a twist.
It's more of a reveal.
or
yeah, something like that.
That
And
is-
I thought you've argued that before on this show.
No,
that it
not-
wasn't a
I
twist.
think-
It was a
no.
reveal.
That's
I've never
absolutely.
seen it.
I think the
That's just pedantic.
Unbreakable is
I
a
can't
reveal.
do this. I
Is it
can't
maybe
do
that
this.
one?
It
might be
I consider
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable a reveal and not a twist.
I agree with.
That I
Yeah.
think that's the discussion we had
That
because we
I
were
agree
talking
with.
about what's the sequel ones.
Split and
Yeah.
Unbreakable.
Okay,
2,
so I'm just
whatever
I
that
was
Glass.
mixing those
Glass.
up. But,
Yeah, thank you.
Which that's a debate for another day. Go listen to that. But
Yeah.
I remember there was one where it was like, that's not a twist.
No, it's not a
Okay,
twist.
okay.
The Sixth Sense is absolutely a twist.
Right. Okay. No. I was. Yeah. I told you my memory's not that good.
if you can play the Saw song over it,
Oh my god,
That's
we
a
need to make an
twist.
edit of that right now. That's so good.
So there's this guy Felix.
Yeah,
that's-
Felix, who is
Women love him. Men want to be him.
I do love that this is filmed in 2008. Like it's not, but it's
Six.
set in 2006 because I also had an eyebrow piercing, and I was like, oh, I remember that.
I did too. That same year.
Did you really? No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I did not. If anyone was curious,
First year when I went to college, and I'm class of 2005. So in 2006, I had an eyebrow
That's
piercing.
funny.
Same year.
I got mine in 2001.
I did drink tub cum. So 2006, that's what I
Well,
was
no,
doing.
2005, because you're a trendsetter.
yeah,
Right,
yeah, you were ahead of
right.
the curve.
In 2006, I was going, really, guys?
Yeah.
Get it
I'm
together.
Out of a shower
Yeah.
by this point.
Might
They're
as well be
sitting there wearing the shirt.
Might as well be wearing parachute pants,
Yeah.
you nerd.
But so this guy and Oliver has this fascination. The movie starts out like, did I love him?
Was I in love
him?
with him, or did I just love
He's
him?
questioning. So we know there's something mysterious surrounding this character, but you don't know Oliver's narrating this thing, but it's a close up of him, and you don't see where he is or who he's talking to.
Right.
I thought maybe it was like a interrogation. Like I thought.
Right.
Or he was right. Like we know that he's into books and stuff. So I was like, maybe he's writing like a memoir on this this week of the summer that he's because that's how this movie starts. This
Hosting a podcast.
yeah, right. It does feel like a coming of age story, and I felt like he was in the beginning when we see
You
him.
got
in
the coming part right.
he did, yeah, twice.
Yeah.
I thought that he was going to be retelling like the story of this crazy family, and that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's very different.
Yeah.
So
Well, because that's the trope, right? That's the subgenre that you're used to seeing. I mean, they even reference it when they say that like the books of Evelyn Wahi or whatever are based on this family. That's the guy who wrote
Right.
Brideshead Revisited.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
so, and he wrote all these books about like
How crazy this family was.
about super rich aristocrats of old money and just like
Okay.
you know.
So he's infatuated from afar with these because he sees him at the bar, and then finally we see that Felix is kind of sitting on the side of the road. His bike is messed up, and Oliver kind of cruises past him. And he again, the way this is filmed initially, you think he's just like, now is my chance to talk to this guy, who I am infatuated with,
And
which makes sense.
And it's also great that in this scene where Oliver's like, you can ride my bike to class, and then Felix is like, oh, great, and just wheel mine back.
Yeah.
And
He's
like,
like-
just to
goes,
see what this
"What?"
family is so entitled. Like,
Yeah.
Felix could come back and get it later, but no, he expects Oliver to wheel a flat tire
flat
bike
tire
all the
back.
way. So
And doesn't even ask like, "Hey, could
Yeah.
you take my bike by?" Like
Exactly.
he's just
Assumes
like,
that he's just going to take it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but here's the thing about this family is that like they are certainly privileged and entitled, but like they're not like
Bad.
awful.
No.
They
awful.
all seem.
I think
nice.
Rosamund
Like,
Pike never does anything that you're just like
she
out
says
of
some
pocket.
pretty
She might be the-
horrible
She might
things.
say
Worst.
some stuff,
Yeah.
but it's also just kind of like,
I mean, they kind of keep people as pets.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And then when they're bored with the pets, when they get a bunny for Easter and now it's summertime,
Right.
they just release the bunny
Into
into
the
the
wild.
wild. And but at the same time, like Felix is like, I mean, part of how Oliver pulls him in is feigning to not have money to pay for this bar tab.
Yeah.
And Felix is like, I'll help you out. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
I
want
owe you.
I don't want you to be embarrassed.
But that I think is him trying to make up for the fact that he really does nothing.
Him who?
So Felix.
Okay.
He really does nothing, and he's given everything. So he's like, I will help those that are lesser than me. Come live at this place for the summer.
I think there's something to that, but I
Yeah,
also think that like he being Felix knows that Oliver helped him out. He doesn't want him to be embarrassed.
Sure.
And he does. So there is a level of normalcy.
But I
or
think he
decency.
does this clearly with other people because he did the same thing.
and
with
his
the guy.
family does it.
Yes.
with
But
other
then,
people.
apparently, possibly, maybe, the last guy hooked up with his sister, and he got mad at him and didn't want to be his friend anymore.
Yeah.
But so we don't necessarily know that he does this all
Like
the
it's
time.
he's kind of like a version of the people that like the evangelicals that like go to Haiti and then they post all these pictures of them holding babies.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying as a
like
commentary
so,
of it.
so
It's
like
the-
he's helping, but he's also not showy. Like he's not telling his friends he's
Yeah.
paying for this bar tab.
Right.
He's just helping this dude out. But there's also this is where the privilege aspect comes in. That there's also he expects you to be appreciative and know your place.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like you're not gonna hook up with my sister if I don't want you to. You're not gonna.
That's a pretty normal.
I mean, that's okay.
Yeah,
I know,
I
but-
don't
seems
think
reasonable.
I don't think rich people invented the "don't f- my sister" rule.
Okay, we're getting away from the point. My thing is like what Tom said. There's rules. If you cross him, you're out and you're going home. I just mean that.
And those rules aren't clear.
Yes,
Like those rules aren't spelled out.
You don't know the
it's
rules.
whatever Felix feels.
You are expected to know
Yeah.
where those boundaries are.
Correct.
No one will ever tell you that they're there,
Which we-
or what they might
which we do kind of
conceivably be.
We see that with Carey Mulligan,
Right.
where
I didn't know that was Carey Mulligan right away.
Oh,
I just
I know.
didn't realize that was her.
I love Carey Mulligan, so I knew immediately.
It just seemed like
that
such
it
a.
was her.
I mean, I know she was in the last film, which was excellent, and so it makes sense to use her, but it's such a throwaway, literally a throwaway part.
Yeah.
That I was like,
And what was she just in? Where she's totally different?
Maestro.
Maestro.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the who's
Leonard
who-
Bernstein.
Yeah, but who directed that?
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. Yeah.
Yeah, just ask him.
He'll tell you.
Tell you.
Yeah.
That's-
Hey, he got nominated. He got his nomination.
Did he?
That,
Yep.
Oh, good for him.
that movie was bad.
Bad or just meh or boring?
I did not like it at all.
Okay.
I
Okay.
thought it was
I could
bad.
never watch a biopic.
The
ever
older I
again.
get, the more I'm just like, I dread biopics.
What was the one that finally like kicked the bucket for you?
I was out on them, and then I watched Elvis for this, and I went, "This I hate
Wait till the Michael Jackson one.
the-
Wait till they gloss over
Oh, no, that might
everything.
be. I would love to see
It's his
how they do
nephew, I
that.
think. I think his nephew's
Yeah.
playing him.
I like biopics when it's like a sliver of time. right? Like, I don't want to
Sure.
see their whole life.
Yes, I guess if
like-
there's a sub-genre,
Yeah.
You just can't do it
biopic
well.
is-
Like a whole life in 2 hours is really hard.
It-
so focus.
and it's the same story. Like no
Yeah.
matter what,
You
it just
grow
feels
up.
like-
Of course, you're gonna have some kind of adversity, or else it's a boring story. And then
I think the last biopic I liked, and it really wasn't of a person, but was Straight Outta Compton. I
a
thought
good one.
that was really good.
I think
Iron
Rocket
Claw.
Man was one of my favorites.
and that's like a different type of
Yeah.
thing. Like anyway.
So I was gonna say whatever John Mulaney hosted, I don't know if it was Governor Awards or whatever. After the Emmys was horrible, and then John Mulaney came in. The thing he says about Maestro, did you see this? Where he's like, Bradley Cooper studied for 6 years to learn how to actually conduct like Leonard Bernstein. He goes, you could have just done this, and we would have never known the difference. But it was
That's
great.
one of my complaints about the movie is like I understand nothing about why a conductor matters.
Nope.
And I watched 2.5 hours of that movie, and I still don't. Like they just kept telling me he was brilliant, and I'm like, you don't look any different than Bugs Bunny doing it. Like I don't understand.
good.
Dun, dun,
That's
dun,
so
dun.
good.
Can you make me
You know, Mel Blanc studied for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, make me understand why this matters.
Why this is important.
Because I don't get it. Shouldn't the orchestra know what to play by now?
That's how I feel.
Van Halen's really good. They don't need anybody standing in front of them waving a stick.
Nope. But that's how I always felt it when what's the Jake Gyllenhaal? Is it Rene Russo? Where they're the art people?
Yeah.
Where I was like, nope.
Velvet Buzzsaw?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Look at you.
Look,
Well,
That
that
was
was
good.
impressive.
I never saw it.
That's why we have this.
But like that, when they're talking about the art world, and I'm just like, man,
Yeah.
I don't know about this. Makes no. I don't know what. I don't get it.
So Felix has decided to kind of adopt Oliver. He makes him his next project.
Yeah.
He's helping him out, and obviously we see that Oliver's super infatuated with him, and in like it seems to be a sexual way. But I think by the end, you kind of find out that he's really in love with his money and his power.
Yeah,
but
they play up. The movie initially plays up the idea that he is in love with him. But I don't think that the way I look at this movie after everything happens, I don't think that Oliver is gay or straight or even. I think he's like.
I think he's a chameleon.
I think he's
he does what he
asexual,
needs to
where
do.
he
yes.
just is. He will adapt to whatever he.
You
needs
see it with
to.
Venetia. That's what's great,
Yeah.
because you're thinking, like, isn't he in love with Felix and he's gay or whatever? But then he does what he needs to do with Venetia, and it's like, but look at that. He just does what
It just does
yeah.
it, and it's not
So-
like
Okay. Now, I haven't watched the movie again. To like, because you watch a movie, you see the end, and then you maybe forgot some things. But I'm having a thing where I feel like the end makes parts not matter or make sense. Why does he drink the cum?
I think that he's okay. So again, the movie starts
If he
off.
doesn't-
now
if he-
you're asking the right questions.
The movie starts off.
I
as
know
like,
why I
see-
drink cum.
Some people look at
okay.
cum tubs and say why. I look at cum tubs and say
Yes,
why
why
not?
not?
Okay, so what I think is really cool and clever about this movie too is it's a vampire movie. He
Go
is
on.
draining
Yeah,
the
he's-
blood. He is
oh,
sucking
sucking
the
the
blood
life
of
out of
this
his
family one by one. And although the bathtub thing isn't blood, but he literally does this with Venetia, and you get the imagery.
life force.
But it's he just
Also, a great
bathed,
movie by Toby Hooper.
but he just bathed in this bathtub, and yes, he did get off in the bathtub. But I do feel that he is trying to soak up and drink up the power, the wealth.
I gotta
of
tell
being.
you.
Okay.
And so it's
And
not a
Matt-
sexual thing. It's a weird.
And Matt can probably attest to this. I have seen some of the like goriest things you'll ever see in film, and it doesn't affect me. The bathtub scene got to a moment where I was like, "This is fucking gross."
But it's not even. It's not even.
It's not the- it's
gross.
not-
It's like bathwater.
It's-
Are
That's
you saying that
it's
someone
this-
would jack off in a tub and just do it in there and then get up out of the cum water and just go?
Yeah, the gross thing is he was taking a bath in his own cum water.
yeah, that's also true. But it's not the
Cum
cum.
soup.
It's not the cum water. It's the way that this
Yeah.
is shot. Where it's like
here's what it is. It's the slurping.
it absolutely
Because
is the slurping.
I don't care if it's soup.
Nope.
I don't want to hear you
No,
slurp.
it's
the,
so
A
gross.
good clam chowder. I don't want to hear it.
Don't need to hear it.
It's
Yeah.
the sound of an octopus. The Foley artists use.
Is that really what it is?
to give that like tentacles like sliding
Man,
around?
it was
But
gross.
it's meant to be disconcerting. It's
Yes.
a close up. We're way into it, but he's a close up of Oliver in the bathtub, like right up on his face, and he's licking, like rimming the drain. He's
He was rimming that drain, all right.
But it's not gross. No, okay, if people said this scene's so weird and gross, and you saw him licking up mounds of cum, that would be what I think is weird and gross. He's just like licking a bathtub that you know the guy was in. You don't see the actual.
These are rich
gross-
people. This is a clean bathtub.
That's true,
right?
That's
This
very
bathtub's
true.
getting cleaned
think
all
you
the
see
time
cum.
by professionals.
I don't think that you
I don't
do.
actually.
I just read an article
Okay.
about what they made the cum with, and it was like
Okay.
yogurt and
Okay.
stuff. So I think you're supposed to
Maybe-
I know what you're saying.
It's just not as weird as a movie where they in your face. Antichrist is a good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just not that weird.
Green
of a-
Knight.
I've never
had
seen
cum.
Solo.
It
That's
did?
apparently bad.
So here's
Solo,
what I
is
think
that
is so
bad?
funny is
Rewatch
people
Green Knight.
people talk about this movie and they'll be like, "Oh, that one scene was so gross." They won't say, they'll just say that one scene was so gross.
Yeah.
And they all mean this.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, this dude fucked a grave?
right.
And he ate out a woman on her
Okay.
period.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
But
like there
Are
are
you,
mul-
are you
saying you
wait,
wouldn't?
Yeah.
Are
You
you
saying you
telling? Are you
wouldn't?
telling me you don't have your wings?
I don't.
Oh,
Wow.
But
okay.
I also think there's a
Pathetic.
difference between doing it accidentally and doing it purposely.
I should say too, I do appreciate scenes like this being in an Amazon Prime.
That is legit.
I don't mean to say this isn't weird at all. What a dumb, boring movie. People hyped me up in a way that it didn't quite reach that. But this kind of stuff, being in an Amazon Prime movie,
Yes.
wonderful.
This is no. This,
love it.
this
Love
is
it.
great.
If-
It's getting this exposure.
If you're
yes.
going to
Yes.
see bands like Cannibal Corpse and Dimmu Borgir and Cradle of Filth, and then somebody hypes you up for this really heavy band and they take you to see AC/DC,
Right.
you're going to be like, I mean, it's
wait a
good.
minute, yeah.
It's
I
got
liked
hooks
it.
a mile wide. I mean, I dig it, but like, I wouldn't call it heavy.
Yes.
No, yeah, I mean, there's no downplaying that this movie isn't like artsy or a little bit different or whatever. It is, but it's just the hype. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to put it. People that are seeing this movie in the mainstream because of TikTok have not watched those other films we mentioned.
yeah.
And it's not an elitist thing. We're not, but it's just
It's the
like
accessibility
If
thing.
you haven't seen as many movies, then you're not going to know what
Also,
to compare it to.
I think the TikTok generation, because of the reactions that this has been getting on TikTok, where you don't see the scenes, you just see people reacting to it. And I think
Yeah,
the
the
fact that,
imagination.
well, it's that, and the fact that TikTok is now where things get hyped up.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, you
For
think,
the under 30 set.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, and the fact that this is readily available on Amazon Prime, you don't have to go to an art house theater to see it. It's literally one click away. I do
Well,
think
gotta click a couple times.
that's fair. I'm sorry.
And a login.
Yeah.
You gotta remember.
You gotta, like,
and
click
you gotta
once and
Pay
then
the bill.
click.
You gotta make sure the
Make sure the bill's paid,
Auto
yeah.
pays on.
That's fair.
It's
That's all
TikTok. Their parents paid the bill.
Yeah, that's also correct.
There's something about Mary that has on-screen cum.
It does. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hanging
Just
off
making
his
a
ear.
list.
And
Yeah.
I think you see way more of it in that.
Oh, you
Right?
see it like in that one. It's legit. It's a thing on his ear.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
it's like comical.
It
cum.
is.
It's not like
Yeah, but they cut out the scene where Ben Stiller went up and just ate it. Yeah. That's,
start licking
Yeah.
Cameron Diaz's hair. Like that's.
all right, now we're 40 minutes in
Let's
and
see.
haven't gotten to Saltburn, so I'm just saying
So
we
yeah,
gotta,
Felix invites Oliver to come to Saltburn.
which is the estate. Is that what you call it?
Yes,
Of-
yeah. And we're
castle.
introduced to his very vampire-like butler, who played a vampire serial killer on Luther,
There you
which
go.
was great.
But yeah, that's the point. Sorry, I wanted to make real quick because this whole movie is a vampire movie, and I
Yeah.
think it's really great the way that it's hidden in there. And the only reason, because even though there are quote unquote weird things, this movie doesn't do anything supernatural or anything that is otherworldly.
No, there's
So
no,
the
there's
only
no
way to-
horror element.
So the
to
only
speak.
way to get the imagery of him being a vampire and drinking the blood, I mean, that's a natural, organic way to do it. So I just hats off to them for
pretty sneaky.
presenting it that
Yeah.
way.
So we're introduced to the mom, which is Rosamund Pike. We're introduced to the dad, and the dad. I do like the dad is just completely clueless,
Yeah.
like as to everything.
That's
in
Richard
life.
E. Grant.
Yes,
He's great.
he in this or in
everything.
general? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Felix and Farley are both there. We've seen Farley kind of circling Felix throughout this entire thing.
Farley Start
Is that okay?
and Oliver Quick. Quick Start.
Oh, interesting. So like Oliver's just trying to get it. You think he's just trying to get his bearings, and he's a little weird. And the dad says something about a book, and Oliver like recites something back. And again, to the point where we saw earlier, where we think he's this well-read guy. You're just like, oh well, This is a very good way for him to indoctrinate himself
Yes.
into this family.
But you're supposed to take it as that he's maybe this genius,
Yes.
or he is a well-read, reads everything. But no, he's doing his homework.
Right.
That is the difference, and that's where I think, like, back to the book list thing. It's like he will do what he needs to do to get the job done. Like you said, he's willing to be with anyone, do whatever he has
Right.
to do. So he's not well-read. He's studied up. He knows
Yes.
everything about this family, what they would be collecting. He probably goes to the Sotheby website or whatever. He reads what art pieces have they collected,
Right.
whatever.
Right,
And so
right.
he knows about, oh yeah, that's that bull, that ancient bull, whatever. I love whatever. And they're all looking like, how would you know that?
And he's like,
It's like-
we get a little flashback of him doing some research.
Yeah.
So Oliver starts to, you think he's starting to become more comfortable around these people. His style of dress has changed. He's now wearing like form-fitting t-shirts. It's also, there's a scene where they are sunbathing out in this field, they being Venetia, Farley, and Felix. And the rule is like, there's no clothes. Like you got to do it butt naked. And when I say that there was like elements of comedy in this is a joke that I saw coming.
Oh, they were going to take his clothes and run away or something.
But that he was going to have a massive like that's where I thought this was going to go.
That's later.
No, that's
No,
what
they
they're
see
sun
it.
they're sunbathing and
You
that's
see it
true.
later.
When you-
yeah,
that's what
you
I'm
see
s-
it later. Like good for him, by the way.
Yeah.
He takes his trunks off and Farley's like, congratulations.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a funny joke.
Yeah.
Oliver has pretty much ingrained himself into this family. And it starts with Venetia, who is a very attractive woman. Rosamund Pike alludes that she has a binge and a purge.
She's got an eating
She's
disorder.
got an eating disorder. And Oliver zeroes in on it. Oliver sees her, and she's definitely flirting with him, which I think is interesting because I guess he
I
doesn't.
think she's doing it to start stuff because she knows that the brother brought this other guy and he kicked him out, and now she's like, yeah, I think
that's probably
I
there's
think this
something
whole
to
family
that.
is just, they are bad. They're not bad in a way that they go out and they kick puppies and murder people, but they're awful in a rich elitist type of way, and they play with people and they throw them away. They're disposable. And
Yeah.
I think that, they just are.
Yeah, but I'm of two minds of that because those people also are more than willing to come and live off of them.
Correct.
Right?
Oh,
and
sure.
so it's like, it's also hard to be super sympathetic for these people because they're down with it.
No, it's not that part, but it's the part that they'll kick him to the curb. Like, you've
Right.
now given them this thing and you did help them, but when you take that away from someone, that's hard because now you've gotten a taste of it.
Yes.
And you've been helped, or you now like, oh, this is how life could be. And
Okay, but now you kind of sound like Ayn Rand, where you're just like, so never help anybody because
And you never know their motives.
And
Right.
and Farley apparently. Wait, Farley?
yeah.
Yeah.
They think he stole stuff.
They
and,
allude that Farley has stolen something.
and did he or
No.
No, it was a setup because they show you he went on the email. He hacked his email
right.
with a thumbprint
Right.
and then did it. But no, I mean, help them. There's a difference between helping someone. I mean, you hear this all the time, like, teach a man to fish, don't give him a fish. They're helping people, but they're not really helping them. They're
Right.
doing this to feel superior, we help people, we're charitable. But when you kick them to the curb and, they talk to me, they're just getting on my nerves.
well,
then
and they're so like the things they say to make themselves feel better about it. Rosamund Pike, when the Carey Mulligan character is like,
Gone.
I'm gonna get she's like, oh, you'll like your flat. Well, it's really more just one room. That's so freeing.
Yeah.
You don't have to clean it.
Yes,
like
yes.
Yeah.
But to the Carey Mulligan character, we see her for a little bit, and then they kind of kick her to the curb.
Yeah,
And
you
they-
can see that Elsbeth is getting sick of her.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Well,
about,
and I always still take it is not only are they getting sick of it, but they've got a new pet.
Yes,
They've
in
got Oliver now.
Yes,
but yeah, they're not bored anymore. They were bored with her,
Right.
and now they've got And Elsbeth, she's so superficial.
Mm-hmm.
All she cares about is beauty. So she doesn't allow the men to have beards. They have to be all clean shaven. When they say we're bringing this person from lower class to stay, she looks at him and goes, "You have the most beautiful eyes. Oh, you're handsome." And they made it sound like whatever. Like, she was interested because he wasn't.
Yeah, as soon as he walks in, as soon as she sees him for the first time, she's like, "Holy!"
And I think that's another clue or a little foreshadowing that this kid isn't from lower class. And I'm not saying that her view of the world is right or that it's always correct, but also, she seems to be able to tell if you're lower class, and he's handsome. He's not,
right?
But it's like, okay, he's not really lower class. I think
Right.
that's another writing hint.
Yeah, we should say that earlier in the movie, we think Oliver gets a phone call. He gives Felix this whole story about his parents, how his dad was a drug addict or an addict of whatever, and he grew up, not in squalor, but in lower class.
Oh, that's how he gets him to bring him to Saltburn.
Yeah.
His dad just died, and he doesn't want him to be
died.
alone during holiday.
Right. So now they're all here, and we get this scene with Venetia where she's kind of strutting around outside Oliver's window in a see-through nightgown. Oliver comes down and basically dominates her, and not in a aggressive way, but uses a dominating words and says you're gonna.
She's into it.
It's a sex game.
It's a sex game,
Right.
big
Yeah.
time. Where he's like, you're gonna eat what I put in front of you. You're not going to get up from the table. You're going to eat everything, and then I'm going to eat, and he does.
And this is one of the first clues that you see that Oliver isn't.
This was the
meek.
This
in the
was
way
the
that
point
he,
where this is the shed
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Gone Girl, where I was like, oh,
So
you're
I
not
think one of
this
my
timid
problems with this plan of his is that it all seems to hinge on the premise that everybody wants to him,
Hey, he's got big.
and I just don't.
So
think
here's
that would necessarily be
Well,
true.
and
I think that it is true.
I think he's got this weird commanding power. I mean, sure, it could not be, but I think in this case, it's like Farley sees he's got the big wiener, and the two women are into him clearly. I mean, the dad is the only one that
Kind of oblivious,
but he's also kind of he's got money, and that's about it, right? He's not really that commanding or intimidating, or
No.
it's like he's just like, how much money can I give you? That's his solution.
yeah. How much
to
is it going to
everything,
take for you to get away from me?
Yeah.
No, he didn't. How'd the dad die?
That's the only one that I was kind of curious.
I
What
mean,
did he do?
I think
He just died. Right?
no.
Or did he kill
I
himself?
think he had. I think Oliver had something to do with it, but
I think he had to have.
Nobody says what it is. We just know he sees it in the
Yeah.
paper.
I wonder if there's a clue in that paper of how he died, because if he had a hand in everybody's death,
Well-
spoilers,
Yeah.
then that would be kind of weird to leave that one to.
Because I'm saying, if he didn't do something to the dad, which then kind of my problem is now you've killed 4 people. It just gets crazier and crazier, which is fun, but that's crazy. If you killed 4 people in the same family, nobody ever.
Well, that- yeah.
Farley's not out there going
Well, they kicked
Hey.
they kicked him to the curb.
I know,
Well,
but
but
he
it's
can
still
come in
his
and be like,
family to
"Hey,
be
this
like-
guy, yeah."
But then it's
also, the plan took place over 15 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's because it's also a weird, far-fetched thing to be like, I have this plan. I'm going to kill these 2 people, and then I'll wait for the dad to die, and then I'll hook up with the mom. Maybe his plan stopped, and then the dad died, and he thought...
That's how I took it. Is that he did his thing and then
and
killed,
got his money.
and then left,
Oh.
and now it's 15 years later, and he sees the article in the paper, and he goes and finds her because he's like, I don't know that his plans are always fully formed.
Okay.
and that he's
Right.
like.
That's
it's
a
like,
good
Well,
call.
and then
it's
I'll
like
say,
jazz. You know, he knows the notes, but he doesn't always know where it's going to end up.
Then the
you
thing
know?
about the movie, sort of I feel like I talk about it all the time. Every time I'm here, and I don't think about it that much, but sort of the language of film.
Cum Tub?
But the way that it goes back and says, look, he popped the tire. He did this. He did this.
Yeah.
That's the movie telling us he set it all up.
Right.
But then if he didn't, that's weird.
That's why
I just feel like the ending...
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something.
Well,
Yeah, because it's
kind of,
if he set it all up like they show you. I mean, I believe that they're right? But then was his plan and then when I'm 35,
Right.
I'll
Move it on
be
the
able
mom?
to swoop in.
but I think
It
you're
is-
right though. He already
It is 15 years, so that's...
Because it's 2006, and in that coffee shop, they're wearing masks, so you have to assume it's
Okay.
COVID.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
but I like what you said earlier. I think that is the way I interpret it. Was his plan? He did it. He got his money. He got to be wealthy and make something of himself with the money. And then when this other opportunity presented itself, he's like, I want to get back to Saltburn. I've always would love to have returned there. And
We should say that. So he has this moment with Venetia, and she is into it. She is down with it because he is taking control, and it's So the next day, like she's eating for breakfast, she's eating a bowl of ice cream, and then he just like pushes a croissant in front of her, and she eats that too. And there's a moment where I feel like the veil kind of comes off Oliver for a second, and she gets up and walks away, and we're just like, well, we know where she's going.
I think she, I think she was just like too much where she just couldn't do it.
That's probably true. Yeah. And Felix at this point is a little standoffish, and we find out that Farley, realizing that his spot in this group is slowly starting to slip away, throws Oliver under the bus because he tells Felix, hey man, I saw him outside going down on her. And Felix is like, Oliver kind of comes to Felix all timid and mild and is just like, what's the matter, buddy? Like, what's wrong? He's like, dude, you took my sister. And he's like, no, I didn't. Like, I felt
just hand stuff.
Yeah.
She's
and
like, no,
stuff.
she tried to kiss me and I turned away.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh,
and
Farley,
I didn't want to
rascal.
embarrass her, and I didn't want to embarrass you. And then he's like, why would you believe anything Farley
So he's
says?
turning Felix against Farley now.
Right. And then we get the reveal that the family thinks that Farley has stolen something, and they kick him out of Saltburn. And
Well, this is after you left out that he seduces Farley too.
that's true. Yes,
right.
yes,
And
that's
so
right.
that's where
right.
I'm just like, I don't think everybody wants to have sex with this guy. Like, I don't
But-
get it.
But but they do in this story. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. You can't take this movie literally because
Yeah,
it's an eat the rich allegory, and that's the thing with art house films. You can't pick apart every single plot point. I mean, you can, but that's not what the movie is meant to do. It's trying to present this.
Well, I think
Commentary.
I think Oliver, like we talked about, will morph into whatever role he needs to get what he wants. And I
Yeah.
think with Farley, he morphs into whatever he needs to, and Farley is definitely into it.
I think that's why he does in this, because that's what Farley wants. He noticed he mentioned his unit was big, like
Right.
Well, to old Barry, he's such an interesting looking guy.
True.
And he does start the movie, I think, acting in a way where you're like, this guy's kind of gross, kind of ugly
Yeah.
dude. And then in the middle of the movie, you're
let
like,
his hair
this
down,
guy's kind of
he
hot.
takes
glasses
his
off, hair
glass off.
down.
He's
Well,
wearing.
but truly, it doesn't, right? I mean, he wears better clothes, but like he's just kind of more confident.
He carries himself
Yeah,
differently.
he is good at that.
And that's what we talk.
But I'm kind of with you, Tom.
But yeah, I mean, that's.
I want to fuck him, but I don't know if everybody does.
But I see what you're saying. But also in a movie like this, you can't like
All it takes for his plan to fall apart is for somebody to be like,
no, thank you.
like, oh, you're not really my jam.
Then
Yeah,
he
right.
would find another way.
Yeah.
He went and he found their Achilles heel. He found the thing for each person, and that's the kind of con artist he is. He
Right.
so he wouldn't have done it if that wouldn't have worked. But for this
Maybe
family,
that's what's less fun about it, though, that sex with them is all of their Achilles heel.
Right. Like, it would have
true.
been nice to see
Well,
him
it's-
have to come
And
at it
go
from a
do-
different
Well, he
angle.
does.
But-
He does kind of do that with Felix, though. Like Felix has no
Oh,
interest in him.
Right.
So he finds other ways to be. He's kind of he realizes that Felix doesn't want to.
Yeah.
So he becomes like the lost puppy,
Sure.
and
You're
he
right.
morphs that
He's
way.
right.
Yeah.
And
I do like that, though, that he does like sexually take from all of them, even Felix, in a sneakier
and
way.
that's what I'm saying. Is he's a
That's a
vampire, but
cool-
it's not necessarily blood. It's metaphorically
Money
draining
is
their
their
blood.
blood.
But then also he uses sex as the thing that he steals from them. Like
Right.
it's I think it's just a different way of looking at that vampire allegory.
yeah, that's fair. And now Felix starts to turn on him. He's just like, man. Oh, this is
Well,
okay.
this-
This is the scene. So we think this
Surprise.
entire time that Oliver has no family. He's estranged from his mother.
right.
His dad is dead. He has no siblings.
Felix's family does a thing where you write the name of the person that dies on a stone, you throw it in the river. Oliver writes his dad's name on a stone, throws it,
Okay.
and it doesn't land in the
It
water.
doesn't go in the
it
water,
lands off to the
So
side.
this is what I thought was initially when I watched. I was like, "That's a good comedy bit where like this guy is such a loser
Yeah, I'm saying.
that he can't even." And but he goes, "Well, that doesn't bode
That's
well."
that dual meaning we
Yeah.
talked
Yeah.
about. You
Yeah,
see it
yeah,
as
yeah.
comedy because like this guy.
Initially,
I
right?
know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
right. But now you think about it.
You're
Well,
like, "Oh,
not
well,
bad.
there we go."
Yeah,
So-
a lesser movie would have like winked at you with that and been like, huh,
Yeah,
something's
look at
coming.
that.
And we
Yes.
talk about movies like Self-Reliance, and we talk about the writing. Though,
Yeah.
Right? This is what I'm saying, and I like Jake Johnson. I'm not trying to get back
Jack
into
Johnson.
it. Yeah, well, yeah, him too. But it's like, this is the thing. When you write a movie and it has this much depth to it and meaning and symbolism and, it's just a different thing. And
I think you also have to give a little bit of leeway.
Okay.
Because he had never written or directed anything before.
Yes, he's written lots of things.
But he had never directed anything before.
I know.
So, and
Did Admiral Fennell direct anything before Promising Young Woman, which was deep and meaningful? And
I don't know.
that was
Probably.
her first feature
Probably a
film I
student
know.
film.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But you see,
Yeah.
but why did she get to do it on her first?
I don't know.
I don't know. I get it. I don't have as much leeway. But I'm saying the writing in this
Heather
one,
Sachs backed me up. Thank you very much.
it's fine. It's fine. If you enjoy it, it's fine. But I just meant from we see this movie and it's
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is what I'm looking for.
That's
This
fair.
is-
That's fair.
yeah.
So, again, what we talk about how Felix isn't, he's not a bad guy because he is. He's like, look, I saw that your mom had called your phone and. So they get in the car and they're driving. He's like, it's just for your birthday. Like, we're just going to drive. And he starts driving. And there's a moment where
He sees road signs. or
Oliver
something.
realizes where they're going. And he's
like,
just
"No,
like,
no."
it. So they get to Oliver's hometown. They go to Oliver's house. And
And he says, "Let me go in alone."
But it's not like it's dilapidated squalor. It's this very nice
Middle class.
Solid, I would say probably upper
middle class home.
Yeah.
And they knock on the door, and there is, and again, like even the way the mom plays it. Initially, you're like, okay, I haven't talked to you. You've been I'm so glad you're home. Let me get your dad. And Felix is like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, yeah, he's just out in the back. And even the parents, like as they're sitting down, and I do like the way Oliver Barry, whatever his name is sitting. Like it's even the most awkward way to be sitting because like he's got his legs very like pressed together and he's like hunched
Well, he has to,
over.
or else his unit would be flat.
That's true.
It's
Yeah,
huge, like-
I'm not gonna tell you though. That's not comfortable to sit like. If you have a giant wiener, that can't be comfortable.
Wouldn't
It's
know.
not.
That's not.
No.
Can't relate. I can sit however I want.
But like, so he's got it's very awkward looking. He's
yeah.
Well, because he doesn't like this guy. Like as you said, as Kevin said, he's a chameleon,
Right.
And they just set him on a pair of plaid pants. He doesn't know what to do.
That's great.
because
that was a good reference.
Thank you. He's like all he does is reflect back what he thinks you want him to be, and now he's in a situation where he has to be two
He's
things
com-
at once.
he's completely exposed.
And if you'll notice, there are
later.
multiple shots in this movie where you see him reflected back at himself in multiple times, like
different mirrors.
yeah, like either mirrors are reflected in water, or the way that they it has a very kind of artsy look to it. The way they'll crop the shot, like you'll see three of him, like you see multiples of him on screen, numerous times throughout the film.
That's true.
And this movie's shot in 4:3.
Which
I don't know why.
So it's because, and Emerald Fennell said,
She loves the Justice League.
You're supposed to be like,
It's gonna be a black and white version. And Snyder will do his own cut.
so this whole movie is filmed in a very voyeuristic way.
Yeah.
Of Ollie being the voyeur looking onto this family, and we're not supposed to feel like we're there with the family experiencing what they're experiencing. We're supposed to be a voyeur watching this thing go down.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of like he feels that he's watching them.
You guys gotta watch The Curse. You just gotta.
What?
What's The
Oh,
Curse?
I want to.
Is that
It's a
the
Nathan
Showtime one?
Fillion,
Nathan
Emma Stone.
Fielder.
I have it.
Sorry.
I haven't started yet.
Yeah.
That's the Emma Stone one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to watch it. I'm going to.
Is it similar?
Don't
Don't
spoil
go
it.
Watching The Curse and watching this, they have similarities with it that I think. I'm thinking about The Curse constantly.
Okay.
I can't stop thinking about it.
I love Nathan Fielder.
What does that mean? What does this mean? And I wanted this movie to do that, and I don't know.
Is it done? Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's on Paramount
Don't
Plus.
Look.
Just-
Yeah.
Listen,
No. I'm not
now,
going.
there are things where people say, "Oh, don't look up anything good." Don't look up anything.
Yeah.
I think I saw the initial trailer.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
not
haven't
going
seen
to.
it
Don't
yet.
tell me because I love Nathan Fielder and I want to watch this. So
That's how I felt about Yellow Jackets. I avoided everything.
And if
with Yellow
and
Jackets.
old Benny, the Safdie brothers,
Yeah.
it's got all that like you're just watching it going. Ooh.
Yeah, love it. I love it.
That's so good. So
Sorry, whatever.
So they're at the house, and so now it's like, well, the jig's up. Felix is on to him, and
Yeah.
he doesn't know what to do. He's like, oh, I'm going to be sick. And he's like, and Felix like, no, we can stay for lunch. Like he's
Yeah.
now in control.
Oh, he's pissed.
like,
Yeah.
And so the ride home's very quiet.
And he's just like, I just wanted to be your friend. I wanted to get into your group. He was like, look, when my mother has worked very hard to plan this birthday party for you, but after the party, you're gone.
We should mention that, like, this family, again, they're rich, they have money, they don't know what to do with themselves. Like, so they're looking for any excuse for social events, have a party. So they decide to have a huge 200-person birthday party that they know Oliver doesn't have anyone to invite. They're like,
Right.
You can invite 200 people.
Yeah.
And the dad's like,
The
I
dad-
can wear my
I
suit
can
of
wear my
armor.
suit of armor.
Which is just so ridiculous. Like, this is how wealthy and ridiculous these
Yeah.
people are.
Yeah.
And it's themed to A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the party goes off, and
We won't say without a hitch.
definitely has a
Yeah,
hitch.
there are multiple hitches.
Multiple hitches. So we see that now Farley is back, and he was just like, of course I'm back. Like, of course I'm back, in with this family, yada, yada, yada.
And some really good writing where he's like, because he's like, they're gonna be mad when they see you back, and they're like, I don't think so. They invited me,
Right.
And he's like, this is my home. I'm always coming
back.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting way where he's basically saying, once you're gone, Oliver,
I'll be here. I'll still be here.
Yeah.
So we see that Oliver finds Felix, and he's doing, rails of coke, and these people are like, who is this guy? He's like, I don't know, like just some weirdo. And then we see that again in the initial viewing, you think a drunken Oliver is following Felix through the maze, and I do low-key kind of like that the Minotaur is at the center of the maze. I was like, oh, it was a good little.
And I do like that at this point in time, they meet at the center of the maze. Oliver has gotten to the end of the maze.
Correct.
Because this event
This is the end of
sets
it.
him up.
This
know?
is it.
It's cool, yeah.
So they have this back and forth. It's not anything crazy. It's just like it's two former friends who are mad at each other.
But I think Oliver kind of professes his love to Felix at this point. Or I think what he's trying to present, I don't believe that he necessarily means it.
I think he's trying to like garner favor again. He's trying to find the way back in, and when he realizes that he can't, something happens. And we don't know what happens initially. We've cut back to a bathroom that is completely destroyed.
Well, we talked about
You
that.
think he decided in the maze to do it?
I think when he realized that the relationship between
This
Felix
life
and
was
Oliver
about to be taken away from him, and so Felix is now he keeps removing obstacles to him and Saltburn,
Right.
And so
now Farley's back in the game.
Felix has basically said, when this party's over, you're out of here.
Yeah.
And so in order to stop that, he's got to take out Felix
because he
Surely
knows
the wine is already
no
poisoned.
It's I think
'Cause
he
poisons
poisons it as he's walking
With what?
drunkenly to the thing.
But with what?
With drugs.
He's got there's a scene where spoilers. We see him pour something into the water.
But I think it's drugs. I think he
it is.
overdosed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't
Because he blames on Farley, because that's why later
Right.
he says,
Correct.
I saw Farley with coke, and that is basically, I think, what to presume that killed
So
Felix.
I think
So-
he has the bottle of the poisoned wine ready to go in case
right.
it doesn't go the way.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
He can't
Alright.
seduce him, can't change
Right.
his mind, can't. Yeah.
So we hear everybody screaming. Oh, they can't find Felix. So everybody's like in the pond looking for him. Finally, we hear Rosamund Pike scream. We find the body. There's a funeral.
But I love how also like how numb everybody plays this. Like the dad comes up.
Not
and he's
everybody, because Farley's not okay.
like,
Venetia's
true,
not
true,
okay.
True. But the parents.
But it's variations on numb. Like
Yes.
they're trying to be numb, and
Yeah.
the kids, and they're
When-
failing.
When again, this is a very dark comedic scene where the butler's like, hey, we need the coroner's coming by, and they're gonna wheel Felix's body. He's like, close the blinds, and the butler can't like get the blinds over, and
Yeah.
everybody's freaking. But then it's the whole scene is like filmed in this red hue.
When he finally gets the curtains down, they're red, so it tints the room.
It's a very
like
interesting.
blood.
Yeah,
But also
yes.
to think about how they're handling this, Felix has just died, and the family is like, "Well, we eat breakfast every day at routine. How out of touch do you have to be where the death of your son doesn't interrupt breakfast plans?"
Yeah.
and
Still gotta eat, you know.
But it's like, so they make the kids all sit there, which it would be perfectly normal to have everybody grieving and not doing the routine. They could even sit around the fireplace.
And I do like this scene with Oliver as well, where again, before we get the reveal, you think he's just trying to appease the mom, Rosamund Pike, where he's like, this pie is really good, and
He'll play along.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I do like that Farley's like, like, why are you still here? Does anybody else not find this weird? And even at this point, Venetia's like, it's a little weird. But the mom is like completely oblivious, and the dad is completely
And we
oblivious.
didn't mention he switches character and seduces the mom, or tries to for a second.
No, he's got her. He's absolutely got her, but he doesn't pull the trigger.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he kind of flips back to normality. But for a second there, he breaks the Oliver character where you're like, this guy is like, got confidence that he's got game. You know, he's saying, you're so beautiful.
I got to tell you, I would have gone with Rosamund Pike too. Like, if those are my options,
Yeah.
I'm going with that. So then he's talking to Venetia's in this bathtub, and they're having a conversation. And again, like since you have seen them before, you're like, okay, there is something there.
Mm-hmm.
And he leaves her, and
Well, she's negging him. Like she's telling him how, you know, meaningless he is and all this stuff.
but then they make out.
right. And then he pulls his power over her again.
Yeah. And then he leaves, and then we see
Then she's disgusted at herself for having done. She's like,
Ugh,
"Oh,
what have
I
I
get what's
done?"
going on here." I thought he was going to, like, claw her eyes out
oh,
because
why?
then she'd be a Venetian blind.
Get out of here. We should walk around like this meme guys. That's
I'm
what we
not
get-
even
get up
mad
around the
about
table
it.
and
Like,
just-
well done, well
I've
done.
been waiting the whole episode, man. The whole episode.
So yeah, the scene ends with that, but then it cuts back to her in the bathtub, filled with blood, and again,
which is also kind of like the
kind of vampire-ish.
But it's also kind of the flip of after he eats her out.
That's true.
Then he goes underwater and you see the blood on his mouth and, and underwater.
which was also
foreshadow.
a crazy scene. Yeah, like that.
I just say it was great. As soon as I saw that, and I'm like, he's a vampire.
And then,
Yeah.
and then you find out that Felix actually choked on cum.
Right.
Yeah.
Then it was like,
Yeah.
well, you know,
Rod Stewart, you know.
Yeah, that's
what?
what?
It's definitely a true story that he had to have his stomach pumped.
Oh, it's a
Didn't
Richard.
you guys go to
this is a
middle
Richard
school?
Gere
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
I was like, yeah, he shared a hospital room with Richard
Yeah,
Gere,
yeah.
but like he.
And Marilyn Manson.
The story,
After he
like,
took
I
his
mean, I
ribs
heard
out.
it when I was in middle
Yeah,
school,
sure,
and I'm
sure,
like
sure.
15 years older than you are, and it was like he had sucked so much, he had to pump his stomach. of all
How
the-
crazy is it that for you to be like rich and famous and talented, and then something like that starts, and everybody has heard it, like for it to spread that far, and then
Right.
just never goes away.
And for some reason, it was always Rod Stewart.
Yeah, and
Right.
always Richard
And
Gere.
that's
always
what I
Richard
mean.
Gere.
No,
Yeah.
we had the Marilyn Manson stuff when I was.
Well, I know,
in
but
school.
that was a
he had
different
bone
one. But
removed.
He had his ribs taken out so he could suck his.
he's heard
Yeah.
it. You've heard, but those
Yeah.
things,
or that he
happen.
was
the kid from Wonder Years.
or that he had the color taken out of his retina. And I was like, yeah. In
But he just
retrospect.
means that they didn't apply the stomach pumping to a different celebrity.
Newer-
He's saying
it's
it's always Rod Stewart,
Right.
Gerbil and Richard Gere, the Marilyn Manson thing. It doesn't evolve into like, oh, Kid Cudi had a rib removed.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
It's just like,
it's always the same
Yeah.
people. Yeah. So
and I don't know that you know what? We've seen Kid Cudi. He
doesn't need to have a
and he
rib
doesn't need
removed.
to have the rib removed. So
that's also true.
don't want any liable
Yeah,
here.
right.
Well, maybe people tried to start it, and then people went,
Not
that's
that
why he
guy.
took-
As
that's
a
why he
matter of
took that
fact, Kid Cudi, in order to increase the degree of difficulty, had a rib installed.
extra rib.
Look, can I get 3 extra ribs, please?
Yes. His nickname is McRib. That's
McRib is back.
That's his screen name on his Friendster.
Friendster. We did skip over the scene where Oliver literally
Felix's grave.
Felix's grave.
Yeah.
Improved.
No, it's
Yes.
not. At what moment?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Yes.
I never believe any of this stuff about improvised. I think it's all stories.
Emerald gave him an idea of what his character would be feeling in that moment, whatever. And he went and did the scene. He was supposed to be in front of the grave, and he says he just started doing that.
I call bullshit because if he does that on a full set,
Yep.
without clearing it,
Yep.
somebody's calling
But
HR. There needs to be an intimacy coordinator for the grave.
I think that
Right.
I think when it comes to like a Judd Apatow flick, and you've got actors who are ad-libbing lines,
yeah.
I'm fine with that. But I don't think for a second that this was where he just starts stripping.
This is a weird art house movie.
It is a weird art. He picks a grave.
But you don't really see it. It's not like up
Yes,
close you
you
see
do.
a hole
Well,
in the grave.
and you're right. You don't see it because it's shot in a way that you could pick a grave and you wouldn't see anything. Why is it filmed? Like, why is
Yeah.
it the shot set up perfectly?
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's a wide shot to show him and the grave and the people in the like. It's an establishing shot.
Are you
for the
telling me
scene.
that there's the woman that made
believe all women. If Emerald,
yes,
says,
but
this is improvised. I believe her, Joe.
Did you see Promising Young Woman?
I know.
Who's
that's
the monster
very true.
now,
Yeah,
Joe?
God
Monster.
damn.
All right, so moving on.
Just call you Bo Burnham.
Yeah, Bo.
God, that movie's so good.
It is. I almost want to go back and watch that.
That's
too.
so fantastic. So now Venetia's dead, and
Do you think he did it, or do you think he?
Oh, I know he did it.
supplied.
He supplied.
He supplied.
Okay.
He
that's
gave her the
his-
he gave her the
I guess,
motivation.
Right, he did. I
That's
mean,
his, like,
he
evil
put her mind in
Machiavellian-
that place and
he's
then
just
gave her the means.
So manipulative, you know what I mean? He lets them hang themselves, right? He
Yeah.
just plants these little things.
So then the dad, or then they set up Felix because they give the autopsy results and they find the drugs in Felix's blood and body.
No. Oh.
Yeah, they get the autopsy.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Farley. The way
No,
okay.
and then Oliver sets up Farley
Mm-hmm.
this is at the dinner table after, and he's like, Farley had drugs, and they kick Farley out.
Yeah.
Then he kills. Well, Venetia.
No,
commits
Venetia's at the it's a
Venetia
little
commits
out.
suicide. Then the dad is
Quote,
like,
unquote.
yeah, right. Then the dad's like, what's it going to take to get you out of here?
He's like, I think it's time for you to leave.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I'm not leaving. Like
And he's playing in that very again
Like,
Magnolia,
this would be
I-
such an unfortunate time.
the
like,
mother,
you-
yeah.
yes, it's like I
I
can't leave her. He's like,
oh, that would be bad.
no,
How
you're gonna
much?
leave.
Yeah.
Like, and then
He has to leave through the servants'
He gives an
door.
which I thought was interesting because all of these people are there, and they're all kind of giving him like the stink eye.
Well, they're a different. So they have to smoke and hang out in the servants' quarters, and they're seeing someone. They don't see someone from the upper class ever in their arena. So when they see him leave,
Okay.
and then it's also kind of a thing that like he's getting kicked out and they get to stay there. They're the servants,
Right,
And he's beneath them.
Okay.
Sneaking
That's fair.
through the
I
servants' quarters.
did not realize that those were
feel like-
servants. I thought those were people just like left over from a party.
Oh,
or
those
something.
are they were all like butlers.
And I feel like
I gotcha.
the servants had always kind of seen through him.
Probably.
I felt like the
Oh,
butler
yeah.
saw
Yeah,
through him
yeah.
from day
Oh,
one.
from
Jump Street.
But like, what's he gonna say? Like, there's always hangers on here.
No, I do like
what
when
happens.
when he goes, I'd like a full English breakfast, please. And they were like, no, it's right up behind you. How do you want your eggs cooked? And even then he's like, my eggs are a little runny. And the butler's like, go fuck yourself. Oh,
And that's also another thing to show, like he has no idea. Not that we would. He has no idea how this social.
Oh, I would have no
status
clue how
works,
that
right?
works.
Like, yeah,
Like, what do you got over there? Can I have that too? They're like, no.
he's just so out of his element. Which again, all us watching, we are too.
Yeah.
but that's
So well, then we flash forward a little bit, and he has his money, and he's right. You know, he sees in the paper that the dad has died, and he's at this coffee shop, and then we see Rosamund Pike walk into the coffee shop, and
what a quinky dink.
and I do initially right. This movie, everything you think
That's what. Yeah.
up until the last 10 minutes, you're just like, what the
But
hell
at
are the
this
chances?
point, you probably should be like,
There's
Do
definitely
they
a
say
question.
how much money he gets?
They never
Or is
do.
it just the impression that it's
a
like
lot.
he's set up?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think
Okay.
that because he's got this swanky kind of place, and he's
Right.
got so he sees Rosamund Pike, and they have this interaction, and she says, "I feel really bad about how things left." And he's like, "Look, it's not your fault. Like, don't worry about it. We did what we had to do." And then she says, "And I've got a place down here," and he's like, "Weird. I have a place down here too." She's like, "You should come back to Saltburn," but initially I was like, "But didn't you just say that you left Saltburn?"
well, she got another place to escape from it, but she still
Still,
Like
does.
a lot of rich people like that in British world, they have their estates, but they also have a place in the city because
Okay.
like London's where the action is.
Sure,
So
sure.
they'll go there but then they'll still have an apartment. in
That's
the
fair.
city.
Now I think, and this might be the dumbest thing I've ever said in my life. Who knows? If the movie kind
It's a
of
pretty
ended,
high bar.
I agree. If the movie ended here ish. Like if he goes like, I will come back to Saltburn or something like
Right,
that.
yeah.
I would have liked this movie more.
If they left it ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what's gonna play out
Right.
now?
And did he have anything? What? Maybe there could have been. I mean, he would have had to change, but maybe a little more implication that he's involved in all of it before this point.
I don't think they needed the tag on, but I do love the wonder of him and the choreography. I mean, he's very talented to do this dance naked in one shot, going all this.
Yeah.
And it also shows you how fake he was throughout the movie. This is him. He does have energy, and he's this like
Yeah.
we never saw Oliver act like this, and now look who he is. Like he's a
I-
total con artist.
do-
And it just
Yeah.
shows. It shows like the real Oliver. It's like, hey, I'm a crazy con
And it
artist.
is
I'm a
such
crazy guy. I'm a crazy weird guy.
I think it's really
fun
cool.
thing. But I
It's a
guess
great shot.
that's
I mean, it just
It's very impressive in more ways
well,
than
in
one.
more ways, yeah, absolutely.
So he goes to Saltburn. He obviously begins this relationship with Rosamund Pike, and we find
She
out
signed over everything to him.
Well, we find out that the person that he's been talking to this entire time is Rosamund Pike in a hospital bed, completely incapacitated. He's like, it's a real shame that your son died, and then your daughter committed suicide, and then your husband died, and now look at you. And she's like all attached to tubes
and he's
and all
blowing
this stuff.
smoke in her face. And
Yeah.
you see the real Oliver.
So I initially, again, it's funny. My oldest and I just watched Kill Bill, and she was like, "This movie's crazy." I was like, you don't even know.
You're like,
this is
let's watch Saltburn.
yeah, just wait. But I think of that scene with Buck, right, in the hospital bed, and I thought that's where we were going here, because he like pulls he being Oliver pulls the curtain, not the curtain, but the blanket off, and kind of like wedges himself like in between her between her legs, and I was like, oh God, is he gonna? I mean, at this point,
well, sure.
we find out everything, right? We see that he drugged the wine. He killed Felix. He supplied Venetia with the razor blades to slit her wrists. We don't know what happens to the dad. We assume it could be
I
that
want
he
to go
died
back
of
and see
regular
if there's
causes,
anything
natural causes.
that he set up, but I could also see it being like the long game, and it's like, well, now it's time to swoop in,
Right,
But
and he does. And now he somehow, I'm assuming he does something to Rosamund Pike that puts her into this state.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely he does.
yeah, I think that's to be
And
presumed.
he says, he's like, thank you for, for inviting me. And he pulls
The tube all
that
the way
was
out of her.
rough.
Yeah.
He unhooks the machines, and he pulls the tube out, and he just lets her die. And that's I do like this scene a lot as well, where we see the three graves, and then the fresh grave for Rosamund Pike, and we see the butler.
And we see a little penis hole in each grave. Yeah.
It's not little. It's like
Yeah, it's,
but we see that's fair. We see the butler
relative.
in the distance.
yeah.
And I
He's
was
still there.
but he stays there longer than all of them, and and Barry, like I know this guy on the first name basis. Oliver looks at him off in the distance, and then he walks away.
But the butler now works for him,
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
And
He's
which
like,
is-
you know what's up, but
Yeah.
do you want to keep your gig?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Right. Here, sign this NDA, will you?
Yeah.
And then we get this scene where we get the real Oliver.
Yeah.
It's the only time you see Oliver when someone else isn't seeing Oliver.
Yes, we see the real Oliver, and he puts on this song, and he just starts dancing his way through Saltburn, which is now his.
this huge estate, and it's like this one shot that he's dancing in this choreography, he's spinning around and doing all this stuff. It's like a really impressive scene.
It is.
Yeah.
Again, more ways than
I
one.
mean, in more ways than one.
And that's how the movie ends.
And he puts a stone. He's got a stone with the names of each person. He lines them up on this like little puppet show
Yeah.
box.
Yeah,
type
which does
thing.
scare him. But again, was a comedic beat.
Yeah.
When he gets, it's a jump scare. And this movie's wild. And to me, it is two different movies.
So I would say he didn't kill the dad
Why?
Why is that?
because there are 4 rocks on that box.
The dad, the mom.
Well, wouldn't it be Venetia? Did I do the math
He
right?
didn't kill the
Farley's not
cousin.
dead.
Yeah, Farley's not dead.
Okay, Venetia.
Farley's been booted.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's the.
He
so
said,
the mom-
you're never to step foot back in here again. He's as good as dead, but not dead.
Yeah, the mom, the dad, Oliver,
kids.
Okay.
or Felix and Venetia.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Carey Mulligan does die.
But he doesn't. I don't think plays a role.
No.
In that.
Do the sums, Tom. Do the sums.
But
not
no,
good
I
at
don't.
maths.
I don't think she does die. I don't think Felix or Oliver is responsible for Carey Mulligan's death. I think
no.
Yeah,
no,
she's just
not part of it.
just
I took
dies
it
off.
as she was a drug addict, and when she left, she went back to drugs.
That's
and
exactly
ended up,
it. That's exactly it.
ODing.
Oh man, and then that line, that dark comedy line, whenever she died, and then she says something like, "Oh, she always was annoying," or she
Wanted
was,
attention or something like that.
yes,
She'd do
like
anything
she-
for
She'd do
attention.
anything for attention.
Yes,
I'm like, oh
yes,
my,
that is
and that shows
that
you
got me.
Elsbeth right
That
there.
got me. I
Yeah.
was like, that's
I know,
kinda
right?
funny. But
That's how horrible Elsbeth is.
yeah,
though.
yeah. This is. I definitely think this is the best thing I've seen this year.
This is great.
I think it is definitely worth a watch. I'm glad that it is accessible the way that it is, because
Yeah.
like we talked about, when it comes to something like this, it gets swept under the rug because it's not a tentpole.
It's only at the art house
It's
theater.
only at the art house
Well,
theaters.
We've
And
talked
this is-
about this before. When movies go to the next level, and sometimes they find box office success, like Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Yeah.
or there's been some other art house ones that explode. We talk about it. It's like great when an art house movie gets attention like this.
Yeah.
And streaming's another way to do it because everyone has access, and social media is the marketing.
You know,
for
it's
it.
funny. I was listening to something the other day about Sons of the Lambs. Do you know when that movie came out?
1991.
Yeah, but when?
Oh, what time of
During-
year?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So February. It came out on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
But the fact we talked about how things get released super early in the year,
Right,
And they
you
get
get
forgotten
forgotten.
about.
Yeah.
Not Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Like that thing raked up at the Oscars in '91. But I just find that very interesting that stuck around.
That's why I've seen memes that are like Valentine's Day cards with
With
Anthony
him on it?
Hopkins on them.
Yeah.
And I think that's
This
why
Valentine's Day we get to see Madam Web.
Oh, when you mentioned Dakota Johnson earlier, it reminded me. You're back.
I'm in for
You're
that.
back. Come on back.
I would love to.
Come on back.
That's my kind of bad movie. Now, hey, I will say, and I'm not saying that like the director did this to like get more people to watch or write or whatever. I do think the ending definitely made it where when normies watch it,
Yeah.
they're gonna like it better. They're gonna recommend
Yeah.
it. If it ended,
sure.
It mainstreams it a little bit.
yeah, and again, I don't want to say that that's like a choice that they made for that purpose necessarily.
Or even a bad choice. Like I get you want people.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yes, I don't. I
You're right, because when
agree completely
when
that
audiences leave a movie on a bad note,
Yeah.
they don't always like it. Like they sometimes like that was a bad movie because
Yeah.
it didn't have a happy ending. It didn't wrap up nicely.
Yeah, it didn't put a
And-
button on it. Yeah.
And you want people to talk about it afterwards. And you're right.
And if it ended in that cafe with maybe some minor changes, whatever, I think I would have liked it more. But I understand that
fewer people
I
would have
maybe
liked
never
it
would
more.
have seen it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I maybe never would have heard about
Yeah,
it
yeah,
to
yeah.
see it if it didn't have this kind of wrapped up ending. And there's still stuff to talk about and ruminate on and think about. But I do feel like kind of took some of that away.
And that leads me to the other thing. When Jacob Elordi hosted SNL,
Oh, man.
he's so bad.
Yeah.
He's
It's
not,
real- it's real bad.
It's really bad. And the only skits that are even kind of funny, the rest of the cast is carrying the entire thing. He's a talented actor. He is good in this movie. But what I mean is they got him because he's popular on TikTok, which is kind of like what you said. It's like it made for a bad episode of SNL, but you got to think of the business of it. Now more
Right.
people are watching Saltburn. And,
It's the reason Logan Paul is the U.S. champion in the WWE right now.
right. How do we bring in
And but also with SNL, you never know who's going to end up working.
That's true.
Well on
well,
that show.
and like Elon
that's kind of the
Musk,
fun of it.
That's
Yeah.
No,
why you
for
have
sure,
him
but
on.
I'm-
It's just a
Yeah.
But I mean, you'd think
But
someone
sometimes you get people like that, and they end up being really good.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
But
Like,
someone might have known he didn't have like improv comedy
Right.
skills.
But if
and
you're,
it's like,
I
but
mean,
he's
if they knew that Justin Timberlake was going to be as good on SNL as he is,
I mean, there was rumors for a while that he was going to take a year off of music and just do a season.
Are you
I mean,
serious?
There was
Wow.
rumors back then of like make
He's
him a
good.
cast member
He's
for a year.
really good.
He's really
He's
good.
always really good.
Was he just on?
He was
I
just
saw
on
him
He was
last
a
night.
musical guest last
Okay,
night.
I-
Yeah.
Did you do skits?
Dakota Johnson.
Did he do something?
did. Yes, with
Okay.
Fallon.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So
Oh,
Fi-
they
Jimmy-
came back for
Jimmy. They
did a
did
box,
Andy
or-
Gibbs and
Oh,
the
okay.
Gibbs brothers.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would have rather seen the mascot thing.
Same, very
Yeah,
much.
but-
though.
Those were great.
so
Those
good.
were
Bring it on down
so much
to-
better than Andy Gibbs stuff.
Yeah.
I always hated those sketches, but anyway, I
You're a
guess
big Bee Gees fan.
that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
Matt.
don't listen.
He doesn't want your petty.
I don't. Keep out of my business. Don't look for me. I will
We have a new
say.
Patreon to promote.
I will say. We're bringing back the horror podcast.
You're damn right we are.
After 2 more episodes.
We took a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I've had some stuff going on.
We
a little
took
bit.
a break. But Real Spoilers Patreon, the horror podcast,
horror movie
is
podcast,
coming
yes.
back with Captain America.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I think
Thor is
we've
on
got
there
a-
now. It just dropped.
Yeah.
We got
Thor
a
just
guest
came out.
lined up for that one, Joe.
We
Is
do.
that correct?
Yeah. Chris Evans will be there.
Well, that was keeping
Well,
a secret.
Some
Let's
people
keep
do
it
confuse the two of us, but yeah, go on.
a secret who the next guest is. So you can catch me on Real Spoilers Patreon. But other than that, I don't want you around. I don't want you looking in my business.
Not even your screen printing business.
That one maybe. I'm taking too much time.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21. Also on Letterboxd at the same.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And this is Tom. You can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at Facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at Facebook.com/Real Spoilers. And I have to pee, so Bob bleeds from his eyes. I'm out.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you.